Howdy ho, folks. Welcome to the show here on the Hotspur Hood. YouTube's playing up a little bit today. It's showing how many people watching's wrong and the likes are wrong and everything's wrong. But we are live. Another edition of the Lunchtime Scoop. Plenty to go over. Plenty to discuss. The horrific Chelsea game, leaving us short for Wolves. We'll get into that, of course. VDV, Romero, Udogie out at the very least on the weekend. Possibly Maddison too. Fingers crossed he's fit. That's an understatement. Will Ange change his attacking approach? We'll be discussing that. It's just me, but I tend to read out everyone's messages on these Lunchtime Scoop shows. Full interactivity. Get in a chat. Tell me what you think. And please leave us a like. Yes. So, yeah, get your views in. I'll be looking at papers and transfer rumours towards the end of the show as well. There is a lot. There is a hell of a lot. And a lot involving us. I always do it on the solo shows. Go through the papers and the sites, what have you. There's a lot involving Spurs. So we'll get through that, that's for sure. But as I just said, before we get started, hit a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and there's super chats on too. Everything helps the channel out. The majority of it's free, of course, the super chats aren't. 70% of our viewers do not sub. Please hit the sub. It's free. Hit the sub. It all helps the channel grow. Right, let's get to things. Let's get to it. Big up Hooders. What's happening, RJR Jones? With me from the very start. Same with Jacob. The first month, I think, of my shows, RJR Jones and Jacob were both watching. So big up. Wayne Bonner, how you doing, my friend? He's been around for a long, long time too. Afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all well. VDV is a huge loss. He really is. Hopefully not out for too long. I think it's going to be a long time, to be honest with you. I think it looks bad. Very, very bad. Not just an injury. It looks like a tear. Gary O'Neill, how are you doing? My friend? What's happening? Are we really using data when scouting players, Tommy? Yeah, I think we are. I think it's a combination of two. Hi from Leicester, David Clark. What's happening, my man? So me and David, WTP's an absolute regular, so is Gary O'Neill. Me and David, either honest, what I've noticed with David, we're absolutely in agreement on a show or completely in disagreement on the show. But big up, man. All the way from Leicester. Sub, you stingy mofos. It's free. Right. First up, I'm going to put myself here. And I'm going to put him in here. I'm going to talk a few transfers to start with. This is underwhelming, but it's happening. People are talking about it. In terms of centre midfielders, this is the one doing the rounds. Over Calvin Phillips, over other centre mids we could be going for. So, right. I usually keep these to the end of the show, but, you know, hey, I'm going to talk quite a bit about transfers today. So, the plan here would be to sell Hotspur. I'm guessing, because he's linked with Juventus, who is 28 and Danish. Probably more attacking for Denmark than Norgard, because they both play for Denmark. So, Norgard, Brentford captain, took over from Pontus Jansson because they sold him in the summer, which sort of indicates they're certainly not going to sell him. Hojbjerg's got 71 caps. This guy's got 21 caps. He's got 50 caps less for his country. The same country. They play for the same country. I just want to keep getting that out there. 50 less games. He's a year older. The only thing I can think of with this transfer is a cost-saving exercise. Sell Hojbjerg to Juventus for £30 million. Sign Norgard for £20 million. Or Hojbjerg is out of favour, which he could be. But it doesn't look like, when he's coming on off the bench, it doesn't look like he's out of favour. He looks like he's still putting his foot in. It was decent against Chelsea the other night. Whenever he's come on, he looks like he's still there. He's ready to play. So I don't know if he's out of favour. Knowing Levy, it's a former cost-saving exercise. But we go back to it. You've got to try and make sense of transfers. That's how I see it. Brentford, there's a high chance they're selling Tony to Arsenal in January. Maybe if Nketiah starts scoring a little bit more, they won't. The hat-trick, I suppose, helps him. I hope Arsenal stick with Nketiah because he's not very good. But there are big rumours that Tony's going to go there. And his ban will be up. His ban will be finished. So they're going to let their captain, they're going to let Tony and their captain go in the same window. I just don't see it. I really, really don't. And there's every chance Brentford are going to be in a relegation battle comeback. They're not poor in terms of finances, Brentford, and they certainly aren't dumb. Very, very well-run club. Up there with Brighton. This Norgard move doesn't have legs, although it's doing the rounds. The rumours are doing the rounds. Multiple outlets reporting it. I hope he doesn't. It's a downgrade as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Thomas Frank's Brentford in if we're going to look at them tactically to see if the player comes in and will fit with Ange's style, absolutely not. It's the complete opposite style. They go route one, direct football. When Tony's fit or when he's not banned, they just hit Tony. They bypass the centre midfield, which is Norgard. He doesn't get on the ball a great deal. The complete opposite of what Ange is doing. Short passing game, not many long balls at all. Very, very few long balls. It's the first game I went to live this season on Monday, and I don't think I saw a long ball all game, even clearing your lines, a hoof. I don't think I saw it. It's just not Ange's style. Big no for me, and it makes absolutely no sense. And that's the way we have to look at transfers, for me. And it doesn't add up. Right. It's only opinions, mate. Oh yeah, I love it. I love opinions. I like falling out. Falling out's good. It's more fun. Or O'Reilly from Celtic. He's a centre mid, isn't he? I was looking at how Postecoglou done things, and there were 3 centre mids. I think he was they had McGregor in centre defensive midfield. It was sort of box to box. O'Reilly, and they used to rotate with another player. I can't quite remember his name. So, well, he's played with Postecoglou, let's say. So there's something there. Jota in Saudi Arabia also played with Postecoglou for 2 seasons. Was very good, but for all intent and purposes, looks like he's on his way out. But didn't he play for Nuno? Yeah, he went to the same team as Nuno, didn't he? And Nuno's been sacked, so maybe Jota will get some game time under the new manager. So, but to be fair, we're not linked with too many Celtic players. There was Furuhashi in the summer. I never believed those rumours. O'Reilly could be one. I'm not going to say I know him a great deal, but a centre mid that I would probably prefer to Norgard, to be honest with you. Just doesn't make sense. Tony will end up at Chelsea. They will outbid Arsenal for his services. Okay, I think they've got a problem with financial fair play, but we'll see. Well, if anyone's got a problem when it comes to financial fair play, it's got to be Chelsea, isn't it? But they've got out of it by giving their players big contracts. I remember Mudryk last January. It was like £100 million, but they gave him a 7-year contract and it was split. The money was split over 7 years. So they found a way around it. So, maybe that's the case. I think Tony will go for 60 million plus. Could even be looking at 70 million. The problem is Tony's only 2 years younger. He's only 2 years younger than Kane. Maybe 1 year younger. He'll be 28 by January, I think. Ivan Toney. He's 27 now. He's not young. He's no spring chicken. He's very, very key for Brentford. As I said earlier, they're not silly. They're really, they're not stupid. They're a well-run club. So 60, 70 million for a 28-year-old. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I want Jota. A lot of people want Jota, but things have changed now. Things have changed with Nuno going. Hi, Tommy. Rob Belcher, how you doing, my friend? I sincerely think that if Levy doesn't back Ange, he really will be shooting himself in the foot, with most of the fan base excited with Ange's philosophy. And the fan base is very excited, me included. When I was at the game, 4-1, people cheering. People not celebrating. I guess we were celebrating losing 4-1 in 90 minutes. Celebrating the fact that we carried on attacking even though we went down to 9 men, not celebrating the fact that we lost 4-1. So Ange is onside. The Spurs fans are Spurs fans. We're in love with Ange. Jay Ashraf, what's happening, my man? Tommy, would Locatelli work in the Ange system or any other Juve player that's not getting game time? He's signing a new contract. Looking at the rumours here, let's have a look at the centre mid. Locatelli, 25, is set to sign a new deal with Juventus until June 2028. I like looking at the transfers. The transfer papers and rumours towards the end of the show, but yeah, he's signing a new contract. That's Romano. It seemed a bit, I don't like using Romano and other sources on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But if there is one that's the most accurate, it would be Romano, and it would be in his homeland, Italy. So there are plenty of centre mids. I'll take Phillips. I'll take Phillips on loan. I'm not signing him for 30, 40 million pounds, but he's just not a fan. Pep's just not a fan of Phillips. Homegrown, played for Leeds. I think Leeds selling him. I don't think there's a coincidence to Leeds selling him and then them getting relegated last season. I think Phillips is a good player. Get him on loan for 6 months while the boys are out for African Cup of Nations, while Basuma's gone, Sar's gone. They're both our starting centre mids are gone. I think it's imperative that we do look for centre midfielders. So that's what the scouting staff should be doing. 100%. The rule is being stopped. You can no longer give 8-year contracts out. Yeah. Well, okay, 7 years. So what they'll do is they'll give 7 years. 8 years is ridiculous. It's even worse because if they don't work out, you've got a player on wages on this reoccurring wage week in, week out for 8 years. And Mudryk, oh my God, that boy looks shocking. That's why you get players from Ukrainian league, Shakhtar, does well for Shakhtar, but it means nothing when you come into the Premier League. And he was shocking the other night. Even with 9 men, he just couldn't get past anyone. Really, really poor. I think this data system is a bunch of bananas. I do too. The way out of signing big players is, okay, we're going down the Brighton route. You sign cheaper players, we're going down the Brighton route. Not we're signing cheaper players. We're going down the Brighton route. I think it's, do you know what? Even in stocks, I study stocks. They're going away from quantitative data, right? So the numbers. And this is stocks, which is fully number related. Obviously, it's all numbers. They're going with qualitative data. So the research in the firm, the research in the CEOs of the firm, the management underneath, what the company's doing in the system. So they're going for qualitative research in the most number-based field possible in stocks. So if we think they're going to use numbers, completely going to use numbers for a sport, a 22-man flowing pitch, you got another thing coming. I think fans like to think that a lot of the time because they can just pull up numbers here, there, and everywhere. It's bollocks. I work for a club on the scouting side of things, defensive scouting side of things. Analytics are part of it, but that's all it will be. It'll be part of it. Don't get me wrong, Brighton have been fantastic, but they're exception. They are the exception. Phillips will start Saturday. He was withdrawn from the under-21s, and it's 5 years maximum contract. Yeah, Phillips was withdrawn, but Phillips hasn't been getting first team in the under-21s this season. It's been Dorrington and who's the other guy? Who's the other centre-back? Is it Walcott? I can't remember his name, double-barrel name. But I've been looking at the team sheet. I looked at it the other day when we had this situation, and yeah, Phillips hasn't been getting game time. He's been on the bench a lot. So I'm not sure. I thought, looking at it I'm thinking Dorrington's going to play. But the fact that he was withdrawn from the under-21s, I don't know. It's a weird one. Dorrington's playing more, and the under-21s are doing fantastically. So, but we're going to get onto that. We're going to get onto that in a sec. But this is a weird one. Not a weird one, I suppose. It's not weird that this guy's being linked away. Certainly not weird in terms of this could be weak journalism because he supports Barcelona. A lot of South American players support Barcelona growing up. But this is doing the rounds. It's seen, according to The Guardian, I mentioned this the other day on Tuesday night stream, but we didn't have enough time to go through it because it got financial. We got talking about Levy and whether we should spend this, whether we shouldn't spend this. So Mr. Cuti Romero to Barcelona, according to The Guardian. This story came to my attention Monday morning, so before the game, before the big Chelsea game. He's gaining a lot of admirers, and rightly so, up until that point. I personally hope Romero and our best players in general go under the radar so that, they play well, but it's not so obvious they're playing well. Then other clubs won't come in. But this guy can't go under the radar. The way he plays, the fact that Messi is a big fan of his countryman, fellow countryman, the fact that he's won a World Cup in the starting 11, Romero, and we've been top of the table for the first 10 games and everybody's watching the Premier League. So this guy can't go under the radar. No surprise, other teams are looking at him. What we forget, and this is something people always forget, Spurs fans constantly forget or just were not aware of, that, this guy was signed by Juventus for £25 million from Genoa. Kulusevski was signed for Juventus for £35 million when he was 19. These are not hidden players. These are not hidden gems. So, Juventus sold Romero because they thought he was too rash. They thought he wouldn't cope in the Italian league being too rash. He proved them wrong on his loan spell at Atalanta. And he'd done unbelievably well there, won Serie A Defender of the Year. But it's fair criticism. if the big clubs are holding back a little bit in terms of signing Romero, we can see why. Monday night was a perfect example. Should have been sent off for the kick. I didn't see it when I was watching the game live, when I was at the ground, but there was, he kicked out. It's very hard to see when you're at the ground, but obviously you see the highlights. Beckham style kick against Simeone in the '98 World Cup. Should have got sent off, lack of discipline, and then get sent off after that for a challenge that I think was a little unfair, but you can see why it's a sending off. It happens all the time. Somebody commented on one of my community posts, I think, and said, you can't give a sending off for that. Well, you can, because he did. The referee did give a sending off, and loads of referees have given sending offs for that, regardless of winning the ball, the follow through. If it's dangerous, you get sent off. I still think it was harsh. Got sent off twice. Could have got sent off twice. Got sent off once. Same with Udogie, actually. Udogie, when I saw him missile drop kick someone, he went 2-footed and should have got sent off for that. And I could see that from the stands. And then he got sent off again. Both sending offs, they should have been sent off before. So ill discipline from both players. But Romero, we've seen it time and time again. Udogie's still a very young boy. Very, very young. I guess this is why some of the big clubs held away from signing him. But he's certainly going to have attractors, without a shadow of a doubt. The big dogs. Barcelona, PSG, Man City, Real Madrid. If they come in, Romero will go against the price, if the price is right. Levy knows the price of players, then adds a little bit on, as he rightly should. I don't care if Levy asks for a lot of money for our best players. I'm annoyed if Levy asks for a lot of money for our rubbish players. For example, Winks, a couple of years back, we wanted £25 million, probably why it took us so long to sell him. Sanchez, we wanted £25 million. Eventually, we sold him for like £8 million. Richarlison, we signed for £50, £60 million. Levy will probably want £40 million, and we won't get it, and he'll end up staying for 4 or 5 years. But our best players, I'm glad we hold out, we hold firm. I'm glad we held out when it came to Harry Kane, when Man City first showed their interest. He had a 3-year contract. He was a Spurs player. You bid £150 million, or you're not getting him. And I'm the same. I'm like that with Romero. I'm glad Levy does do that. So I think the fee would have to be £70 million. 70, 80 million pounds. Minimum 70, still only 25. That's relatively young for a centre-back. Thiago Silva's 39 and he's still going strong. We saw him the other night. Is absolutely magnificent, Thiago Silva. If a couple of players, if you're going to pick out a couple of Chelsea players, you've got to say Thiago Silva, so calm on the ball. Unbelievable player. He can still go for another 3 years. Doesn't rely on pace. Palmer was very good. Cole Palmer was very, very good. They've got a good player on their hands, and he was playing out of position, still good. And Sterling rinsed Porro. He ripped him to shreds, but that's sort of on Porro as well. But yeah, Thiago Silva, 39, still doing it. Romero, 25. He's got a lot of years ahead of him potentially. So 60, 70 million pounds, 60 million at least to take Romero away from Spurs. I'm thinking. Guests on Tuesday's show, because as I said, I did mention it briefly on N17 effect. A lot of them said they'd sell him and then use the money on other players. Now, this annoys me. This rhetoric continues to annoy me. Why do we need to sell our best players to sign players? We've got the most revenue in the world. We generate the highest match day revenue, one of the highest match day revenues. We charge the highest season ticket prices. Our shirts cost the most. Last January, Dan Juma shirts. Not even January, March or April. Dan Juma shirts were still going for £100 in the Spurs shop. The guy played 1 or 2 games. We create the most out of football, NFL, sport, concerts. We generate so much money. Why do we have to sell our best players to then sign 2 £40 million players? And I had this issue with my co-host, Dan. Sell Romero, get 2 £40 million players that are as good as Van der Ven. It doesn't work like that. This is not FIFA. This is not Football Manager. You don't sell a player for 80 million and go, all right, we're going to sign 2 Van der Vens. They don't exist, So I don't want to sell Romero, even if an £80 million comes in. We should be able to afford players without selling our best players, quite frankly. But I guess it is the reality with Levy. And this is why the Levy out chance and the Levy out hashtag needs to carry on even when we go 8 games unbeaten, 9 games unbeaten, to put pressure on the owner to get his wallet out and to supply us with more money, more players come January and come any future transfer window. So Levy out isn't going against Ange and not backing the team. It's the exact opposite. Is backing the team. So Levy spends the money when the window opens because we've got a very good starting 11. But our depth isn't good. And we're going to find out Saturday the strength of depth we have. And I'm worried. I'm worried because, as I said, Van der Ven isn't there. Both centre-backs aren't there. Romero, they're saying it could be increased to a free-match ban. But he's certainly not going to be there in a week. And Udogi's not going to be there. So our defence is ripped up. Maddison, 50-50, they're saying. Get onto the injuries in a bit more detail in a second. We need to put pressure on Levy, even when things are going well. That's the way I see it. And if you think that's negative, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But what do 2 negatives make? You shouldn't just need to be an electrician to work that one out. Right. Let's have a look. Let's see what people are saying. As I said, on these solo shows, I'll read out everyone's messages. I'll read them all out. It's always interesting to have a discussion with the guests that are in. You make the show. The show wouldn't exist if it's without you. Not the solo shows anyway. The guest shows might, but the solo shows won't. My conversation is with you here today, and of course, I put a few notes up myself. So let's have a little look. David, that game on Monday proved to me that Chelsea is still a poor side, which makes me more angry with these 2 clowns, Romero and Udogi, that they caused us to lose. When 11-on-11, we were killing them. A goal that was disallowed. That changed things. And then, of course, the sending off changed things. Had we scored that second goal, had it counted, and I thought it counted. It looked onside in the ground, and everyone was screaming, not thinking there would be a VAR decision. That's it. We win that 4-5-0. Romero let us down. It's as simple as that. Romero let us down because he could have got sent off twice. Football has otherwise, big up Daryl, become Americanized. No one can tell me otherwise. It certainly will if the ESL comes to fruition, which I think it will. The European Super League will come to fruition. And we're looking at drafts. We're looking at franchises and we're looking at drafts. Then when the football pyramid dies, that I'm not done with football. I'll still support Spurs, but I'll probably end up watching another sport. I'll just stick with cricket until the end of my days if that happens. But I do not like. I hate the draft. The idea behind it that the team that finishes bottom, that has the least success every season, gets the highest draft choice the next season. That is just a shocking way to do things. But again, to ESL at some stage, it will come to the Premier League. You'll have all the European teams together in one league, and the football pyramid dies. And in this country, it's unbelievable. Championship, League One, League Two. The standard of football in those bottom leagues are still very, very good. Championship football is better than a lot of the top leagues in Europe. Some of the best teams in the Championship. It's crazy. Afternoon, bro. Audio, what's happening, my friend? Moneyball of the highest order. But you know what? Moneyball works in baseball because it's a one-on-one sport. It comes down to one-on-one at any one time. It's a pitcher against a batsman, right? This is not one-on-one. This is not a one-on-one sport. This is a 22-man flowing pitch, no timeout sport. It's different. So that's what a lot of fans are looking at. They want to use Moneyball for 2023 football. That's the way it's going to go. It can't go that way. It just doesn't work. But some people will try and fool you that it does. We just try to sign cheap players whose contracts are running down. If Romero left in January, I would seriously not be bothered in any way. I want a player with brains, not lack of them. But don't you think he's been very good so far this season, though, hasn't he? But I agree in the sense that if you're good for 10 games, but then make a silly mistake like that, and to be quite frank, our unbeaten record, I think, would have carried on had he stayed on his feet. So who forgot to feed Romero his raw steaks before the Chelsea game, Tommy? I don't know, but I fancy steak. You've made me want to eat steak now. Romero was dropped in the World Cup after he got the run around against that African side and only got back in because another player. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And a lot of people don't want you to hear that. It was around this time last season. It was Saudi Arabia, wasn't it? I think it was Saudi Arabia in the opening game. I could be wrong. pretty sure, and they were shocking. Argentina were shocking in general. I think they'd come out of it as a draw. And everyone's telling me that Argentina won the World Cup. So Romero was one of the best centre-backs in the world. And all their players are some of the best centre-backs in the world. That's rubbish, because they did do badly against Saudi Arabia, and 2 of them were penalty shootout wins. So it's fantastic to win the World Cup. It's the best showpiece on earth, I still think. But it doesn't mean you're an unbelievable, great, world-class player. I mean, when Greece won the Euros and done the unthinkable, it doesn't mean all their players are world-class. Big up to all. Come on, you Spurs. Scott Hynam, how you doing, my friend? Romero's a class defender, but he's also a cannibal at the same time, unfortunately. The man likes to eat raw human flesh. But that kick, there was no need for that. On the ground kick to the legs, that was stupid. If you're going for... He won the ball, and I guess he was unlucky to follow through for the actual sending off. But that little thing on the floor with a foot, that's unneeded. That's just a complete... Not just lack of discipline. That's a lack of respect for the club and the club's fans. That's the way I see it. But you take that away from Romero, you kind of lose his edge to a certain extent. So it's difficult. It's difficult. And I'll tell you what, this Romero error, you could say the other night, if it keeps other clubs away from signing him, so it could work in our favour. Depends how highly you rate Romero. At least 60 mil, I agree. At least 60, probably looking at 70 mil. The good things that Romero does for Spurs don't outlay the damage he does to our club with his stupidity. Big up, Scott. Don't forget to hit the like. It only costs the price of a bag of fish and chips to do so. Right. Does it? Doesn't. It's free. Tommy, who's your defence for Saturday? I'm going to get to that in a second in my next, the next thing I want to look at. Yeah, we've already looked at Romero. Phillips needs to start with Dorrington. Porro, Phillips, Dyer, Royal. Nervous about the defence. Who isn't? What Spurs fan isn't? It will most likely be Porro, Phillips, Dyer, Royal. Smash a like and subscribe if you love Tottenham. We all love Tottenham. I hate pinball. NFL is the greatest sport ever invented outside football. College football is a supreme method of producing never-ending supply of great players to continue the sport at the highest level. I suppose the way it's handled, it could be the greatest sport ever invented. That's the argument. The greatest sport ever invented, I guess, is subjective on what you rate as the best sports. I think the greatest sport ever created is cricket, but football is the most entertaining and has been manufactured the best way it could be. And more exciting as well. I'm a massive cricket fan. But I guess from the financial and revenue side of things, NFL is unbelievably good. Look at the stadiums. There's never a seat available at any of the games. But they can, is a 330. The difference is the population in America is 330 million. And this is their biggest sport. So there's always going to be players to choose from, a hell of a lot of players to choose from. It would be great. Now they're doing games in Germany and more in England. It'd be great if it turns European, the NFL. It would be. Remember, has it removed for Marcus Edwards in January? Make a lot of sense. This one always makes a lot of sense. As I said at the start of the stream, does it make sense? Porro played with him on the right at Sporting Lisbon. He's a homegrown Spurs boy. We've run out of homegrown Spurs boys. We sold Winks and Kane in the summer. Tanganga's gone on loan. So this season, it's not important. We're not in Europe, so we don't need Spurs homegrown players. But if and when, hopefully, we get back into Europe next season, I think the only way we don't get back into Europe is if we finish 9th. 8th gets you into Europe, I think, next season, at least the Conference League. So, famous last words, I think we'll be in Europe. So, when you do, you need 4 Spurs homegrown players. In the Premier League, you need 8. It doesn't matter where they're from, as long as they're from England, as long as they train in England between 18 and 21. We're going to need some Spurs homegrown players. So far, right now, we've got... Who are the Spurs homegrown players? We've got Skip, who most people don't want anyway. Our third keeper... Most clubs use their third keepers just to help that. And ours is, I think, Bradley Austin last season or Whiteman this season. That's 2. A lot of people don't want Skip. We're struggling. Marcus Edwards would fill that quota. Can play cam, can play on the right wing. Started as a cam for us in youth, but played on the right wing for the majority of his career with Porro. And they were very successful. So I would take him if he's available for £30 million. I'm okay. I'm okay with that. it's decent business. Wagwan, Mr. Tommy. How you doing, Donna? I haven't seen you on for a while, Donna. I forgot your name, to be honest with you. Nobody's really talking about Donna so far this season. Right. VD, so we're going to get onto the defence now. Van de Ven, man down. Very much man down. We have a few players out Saturday, but only one long term, it seems. This guy. What VDV done was always going to happen. And this isn't Mr. Hindsight. Watch my previous stream this time last week and all of last week. I said, this guy is going to do some real damage to his hamstring. I was hoping it was just a strain, but I think it's more serious, and the report suggests it is a tear. Romero, now, not this Saturday because he'll be banned, will be forced to be the ball winner again. What happened with VDV and Romero was that Romero sat back a little bit this season. And because VDV had the pace, he let VDV just go out and be the animal and win the ball. Romero covered. Now, Romero's got even more chance of getting sending-offs because he's got to be the ball winner in this Ange system, and someone else is going to cover. Eric Dyer, no doubt, who... Eric Dyer, how is he still at the club? Ange don't want him. Doesn't want him, Ange. Didn't want him. We can't say Levy supporting Ange when he kept Dyer and sold Sanchez. And Sanchez is the only player that he played. He played Sanchez in the Fulham game and didn't play Dyer. So Ange preferred Sanchez. A few days later, we sold Sanchez, kept Dyer. So we didn't support Ange fully in the summer. I don't think we're going to support him fully in January. I hope we do. Of course, I hope we do. But I've been hurt before as a Spurs fan when it comes to transfer windows. But anyway, outside of Dyer, yeah, Romero will be forced to be the ball winner. More sending-offs could happen. Hopefully, it's a one-off. Hopefully, Monday night was a one-off. Dyer, I'm sure, will be the covering defender when he comes in. He will come in. He came in Monday. The first substitution for centre-back, the first one that came on as a centre-back was Eric Dyer. So I'll be very surprised if he doesn't come in. And I don't blame Ange. He hasn't got many options, has he? He's an experienced guy, Dyer. Been in the club for 10 years. Got nearly 50 caps for England. Loads of appearances for us. So I don't blame Ange putting him in. Same with, I don't blame Ange playing Richarlison. There aren't many options. Perisic is 34 and he got injured for the season. Solomon's injured for the season. For a few months. What choice did he really have? Brendan Johnson was out. Now Brendan Johnson's back. I think Ange does have a choice. But with Van de Ven or Romero missing, what are you going to do? You're going to put Dyer there, or you're going to put Royal there? Or you're going to trust someone that's played 7 games for Blackburn last season in Phillips? Sounds good. And that's the way I would go. Personally, I would go Dorrington or Phillips to give the young blood a chance. I really, really would. Even if they foul, it's better than Eric Dyer. They get some games under their belt. But Ange has got to win games. He's got to give his best chance of winning games. And he sees Eric Dyer day in, day out training. And he probably comes across well in training because all of our managers started him. So he probably does do that. He's what I call a pussy when it comes to defending. He looks good. He looks great because he doesn't make as many errors. He sort of shouts at people. He's got a big head, so he wins a lot of headers. But at the end of the day, he doesn't engage. He's the exact opposite to VDV and Romero, who will not go to win challenges. He refuses to engage. Therefore, he makes less mistakes. Therefore, he looks better. And I know when Eric Dyer starts playing, people are going to be like, you know what? He's pretty good. He's actually pretty good, like Chelsea the other night. No, he doesn't make as many errors. He won't get sending offs, but that's because he won't make challenges. It's as simple as that. I've seen it time and time again. But this VDV thing, I was so fascinated by him. I've been really fascinated by him this season, especially because I've never seen a centre-back with his pace. His hamstring, that injury was coming. Hopefully, it doesn't affect him like previous very fast players in the Premier League. Michael Owen. Let's say Michael Owen, incredible. Pace we've never seen in the Premier League. He got the hamstring injury, injuries in general, and he never recovered. He never had that pace again. So this could work out well for Van de Ven. What are his other strengths? Has he got other strengths just other than just his pace? We're about to find out because he can't just rely on pace, and he may not be able to now. So yeah, I think he's gone for three or four months. I'm putting this week with no Romero, Adoki, or Van de Ven. I'm probably I'm going to say what I would do, and I'm going to say what Ange would do. I think Ange is going to play Dyer and Emerson Royal centre-back, and I think he's going to put Davis left-back. He's definitely going to play Dyer. So he could play Dyer centre-back and then go to Phillips or Dorrington. This is what I would do. I mean, this is the other option he has. Dyer or Phillips or Dorrington centre-back and then Royal left-back. That could happen because he doesn't trust Davis. The other night against Palace, he played the first half, was shocking. Subbed off and we ended up winning 2-0. We ended up winning the game. So he hasn't got much trust in Davis, but I got a funny feeling Davis will be left-back. Royal and Dyer will come in at centre-back. Hotspur is an option as well. He's a ball winner. I think he's a better defender than a lot of the defenders we have currently. Certainly the ones available. Play Hotspur and Dyer centre mid and then go Emerson Royal left back. There are many, many options. But these people that constantly tell us that Phillips is going to be world class, Dorrington is going to be world class. None of these people watch the Spurs games, the under 21 games. Very, very few. I've been to the games and there's 200 people in a crowd. But apparently there's 10,000 people that know how good these young players are. We only really know when they come in. And the young trainers, the young coaches are the only ones that really know. And of course, Ange will be seeing some of them. He'll be getting reports. Up to him. Does he think they're good enough? Does he think they can make the step up, Dorrington and Phillips? Even if they're at lesser quality than Dyer, now I'm still putting them in. Lesser quality than Davis, I'm still putting them in. But it's not my job's not on the line. So Ange's job's on the line. It'd be a big risk to play these young players. Hotspur is another option. So personally, I don't want Dyer anywhere near the team. So I'd put Dorrington in because he's getting first team. If you look at the fixture, the team sheets, he's first team throughout the season and was very good the latter part of last season. I think you'd have to put Royal left back, keep Porro right back. Do you know what? I'd probably go Dorrington and Phillips, to be honest. I'm that against Dyer. Do you know what? I would actually do Hotspur. I would put Hotspur next to Dorrington and put Royal left back. I know that sounds crazy, but I just do not want Dyer anywhere near this team. I know that sounds mad, but hey, there you go. There we go. Right, let's see what people are saying. Donna's saying, I'm doing good. Jersey sales are going up. Fantastic. Great. Cricket is the most complex sport invented. Its rules are complicated but intelligent and is a thinking and tactical sport like any others. I absolutely love it. It's just mind-blowingly good. Mind-blowingly good. Cricket isn't a sport, Tommy. Stop it. Come off it. I sold many VDV jerseys this season. You'll sell a lot more, Donna. Perhaps I jinxed VDV season with those jersey sales. Do you know what? I think I cursed. Talking about jinxes, I think I jinxed, whatever you want to call it, VDV last week by saying, I guarantee his hamstring's going to go. And because this pace is as great as it is, there's no longevity to it because it's pace on another level and he's showing it week in, week out. A matter of time. He nearly done it against Fulham. He was holding it against Fulham in the Carabao Cup. Another bad thing is Romero's always injured as well. So there's every chance Romero could get an injury even after his ban. This is where you supply your team with strength and depth, and Ange just doesn't have it. That's why I'm talking about putting Hotspur and Dorrington in front as centre-back. That's how bad the depth is. VDV was seen at train yesterday in full kit and no strapping on his 5-stroke hamstring. His scan was booked for 9 a.m. this morning. That, if it's the one I think it is with Son in the gym, that was found out to be a fake photo from last Thursday. That was a visual on social media yesterday, and they found out it was fake if it's the one with Son in the gym. But it doesn't matter anyway. A hamstring issue isn't something you need to be in a wheelchair for. You can actually walk normally with a hamstring injury, even a hamstring tear, because it's the upper body. You just have to walk in small steps. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a long one. Whatever happens, I mean, normal hamstring injuries are 2 or 3 weeks anyway. If it's a tear, it will be 3 months. Hopefully not. Mr. Tommy, are you a good salesman? I'm okay. I still sell tickets for my summer seasons abroad, so I'm all right. I can handle it. I'm not, selling the sand to the Arabs and ice the Eskimos level, but I'm all right. David Clark, Sol Edwards, I don't want that bloke at our club. We now have the top midfield players in all sports in the midfield, and Edwards would be a downgrade. Looking at the depth, I think the depth side of the things and the homegrown quota next season will be a big problem. I think as a backup, he'd be fine. I'll take him. Oi, afternoon, Tommy. JJ, what's happening, my man? What is that avatar? Is that teeth? I see you on a lot. Is it teeth? What is it? He was out for a solid 3 months with a hammy he got last year. He was out for 3 months last year as well. I know he only made 38 games, played 38 games in 2 years for Wolfsburg. That's not a good sign, is it? That really isn't. Ange could play Charlie Sayers as a centre-back, but been playing left-back this season. I believe he has a league experience with Southend before coming to us. Plus, he's older than Phillips and Dorrington. Yeah, he did. They picked him up from Southend. Yeah, he's quite a tall boy. Picked him up from Southend. And he was starting games for Southend. My girlfriend used to live in Southend. We used to live there together. So, yeah, he played a lot of games in the Conference League, National League level, I should say. So he has got a bit of experience, but yeah, you move someone from left back to centre back. I'd just stick with centre backs, if I'm perfectly honest. How about Mr. Lloris in goal and Mr. Guglielmo in the back line? Wolves home games this season, played 6, 1-1, drawn 3, lost 2, goal difference 7. Goal difference 7. Goes against 11. 11.6. So they're not that good. They've been picking up recently, haven't they? They started off really badly. I think they got a good manager. I think Bournemouth have missed a trick getting rid of Gary O'Neill. I really do. He was a very good manager. Kept Bournemouth up, and I like him. I like Gary O'Neill. Mr. Tom, I'm now projecting Mr. Guglielmo's jersey sales to go up. If you're good at sales, can you help me with that? Don't know about that. We'll have to see. I know we have injury suspensions, but if this is a different time and we bounce back against Wolves, let's see what we're made of. Mario Kitspos, how you doing? No, it's a dice up close. Oh, is it? Right. Oh, it is, yeah. It looks like there's 2 little number 3s in the centre. Right. Finally. Actually, not finally. I've got a couple more subjects I want to talk about. Let's get this down for now. You can see me in full. I have got through everyone's messages. Yes, I have. Please, before we go on to the next subject, will Ange change for Wolves? This is more to do with the tactical approach rather than personnel. It will have to change personnel. We know that. But first of all, please make sure you smash a like. Let's see how many. We haven't got too many people watching today. There's like 5 people streaming at the same time as us. Whenever we go live, we've got 5 people streaming at the same time as us when it comes to Spurs channels, just the way it is these days. So diluted. But it is free to smash us a like. And we've got 16 at the moment, which is great because we've only got a few watching. So we've only got like 16, 17 people watching. So if you can get us up to 20, and there's people coming in and out, it'll be fantastic. And hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. We've got lots and lots of content coming. This is just one day. This is just me where I try and interact with the chat. We've got loads of guest shows coming up. Tuesday, for example, was exciting. Saturday, we've got the Aussie boys in midday Saturday. Sometimes it's just Jason, but it is Spurs Down Under. It's always the Aussie boys in control. So, will Ange change for Wolves? Now, post-Chelsea, in his match interview, he said he wouldn't. He clearly stated that if we're down to 5 men, we would play the same way. I hope that was a bluff. I really do. In the Chelsea game, although we lost 4-1, keeping the press high with 9 men, I think it was the right decision at the time. I honestly do. It was a derby, and Chelsea weren't that great. They really struggled, even with 9 men. It took them to the 74th minute to score the second goal, and then they went on to win then. And still, even when they went 2-1 up, Dyer scored, Bentancur nearly scored. I know Dyer's got ruled offside. I think we've looked at it post-game, and it wasn't actually offside. So we were well in the game. So for that game specifically, I'm very happy with a high line, high press. Against different opposition, you have to consider adapting. That's how it is. That's life. You have to adapt to your surroundings. The best people do. The most successful people do. Not the strongest, not the smartest, but the most willing and the most able to adapt. They're the ones that succeed. So I think you know, Ange will have to change his system in certain games against a team with, let's say, a better finisher. With Dyer, Royal, Davis at the back line, you're gonna struggle with that high line. You can just get ripped apart every time. So for me, it's horses for courses. Ange will now earn his money. He really will. He's completed the opening test for Spurs fans, for me, with flying colours. Can you get this first team playing good football, entertaining football, and winning matches? Yes, and yes. A big question now is, can you do it with the first team out, with some of your first team players out? We'll find out Saturday. The best managers, players in all fields, they adapt to their surroundings. So I'm not happy if Ange just goes with the stubborn point of view is, I'm playing attacking football, I'm playing high line, no matter who we play, no matter what we do. That's not the approach you want from a manager. That's not a successful manager for me, not in the long run. You need to change aspects of the game. The hopeful thing we have right now is that, I haven't talked about it yet, is that Maddison is 50-50 to start against Wolves, which indicates he'll certainly be back. We've got an international break after the Wolves game as well. So from him getting injured against Chelsea, 3 weeks basically, 3 weeks to recover with that international break, which is fantastic because he's more key than Van der Ven for me. He's been sensational this season. Don't get me wrong, Van der Ven's been great, but Maddison is the key. So let's just hope that it's just one man down in terms of injuries for the season, because we can't do without Maddison. Oh, actually, we've lost Richarlison as well this week. Do we even count him? Mr. Richarlison, he's got surgery, pelvic surgery. So he's going to be out for a relatively long time. At the end of the day, it still leaves us short up top. Perisic injured, Solomon out. Gil, we're not seeing Gil at all, even since his surgery. He was complete 6 weeks ago. We're not seeing him off the bench. We're not seeing anything. It looks like another manager that just doesn't rate Brian Gill. So it leaves us short one way or another. Richarlison being out, having his surgery. Veliz will have to come in at some point. And Veliz wasn't cheap. Veliz was £13 million. So we invested quite a lot of money in him. And he's looked good since he's come off the bench. And we're certainly going to need Veliz now, unless we sign a striker in January. Son's going to be at the Asian Cup for a month. So it's interesting. But Maddison's a big miss. Hopefully he makes it. And the good signs with Maddison is he's taken lots of niggles. We've taken him off in games where it looks like he might be injured. For the following game, like against Arsenal, I think he was on crutches for a little while. He was seen on crutches, but it was all precautionary, and he returned. Fingers crossed it's the same again. Returns for the Wolves game, because without him, I worry. Where's our creativity in centre midfield? We're going to put Lo Celso in there. Has he got the same impact that Maddison has? Maddison is the key. Since Kane's gone, Maddison's the key for this team achieving anything this season, as far as I'm concerned. And this talk about people wanting Richie to be sold in January, it's nice. It sounds great because he's not being good, but it won't happen because we're so short up top. Because he's injured, no teams are going to fancy him now anyway. I think the summer, we wait until the summer, and we will wait until the summer before selling Richie. And if we do want to sell him, we'll have to take a hit. As I said earlier, cost 50, 60 million pounds. We'd be lucky to get 30. Richarlison's not going in January. Okay, we're going to get on to the final segment of the show. It is the rumour mill and paper talk. I'm really going to enjoy this today. I've been doing this recently, and not too many Spurs players have been coming up in the rumours, but there's a lot. And I just looked at these, 30 minutes before I went live. There's a lot. Some involving Spurs directly, some not directly, but interesting all the same. Seems like whenever we lose a game, the media come out and start linking us to players, which is right, because we haven't got any depth, but we should be looking at players a long time ago, based on the lack of depth. Right, you're underestimating how good Guglielmo is as centre-back. To be fair, Vicario was man of the match for me the other night, but I still worry about him every time he comes out with the ball to win the ball. He looks nervous. One of the best shot stoppers in the Premier League already, but he does look a bit dodgy. coming out with the ball. I was talking to a physio and he said hamstring and calf injuries in young players is a bad sign because they tend to suffer with these injuries throughout their careers. We saw it with Lamptey. Lamptey's pace when he was at Brighton was like something. Was like something we've never seen. I mean, it was incredible, but he's constantly done his hamstrings, and now he's just nowhere near the player because he's just not good enough without his pace, and that's the problem with Van de Ven. If he don't have his pace, then what does he offer? Because other than his pace, I haven't seen a great deal. I haven't seen something that makes him stand out without having his pace. He's not great in the air. He's okay. He's a little bit slow in thinking, which is why he's nearly scored 3 or 4 own goals. Pace is what makes him incredible. He's actually really good on the ball as well, Van de Ven, but that's because his pace takes him away from players. He's got so much more time. So it's not a good sign. Lamptey never recovered. People were saying he's within the first 6 months of him playing for Brighton, everyone was saying this guy's worth £80 million and nobody's talking about him at all anymore. I don't think so. He will go for it, I'm sure. Wolves 0, Spurs 1. Bentancur, 92nd minute winner. What do people think about putting Bentancur in as a cam? If Maddison's injured, I think he's either footed like Ericsson. I think he's got the creativity for 1 or 2 games to play cam. I'd rather him there than Lo Celso. I really would. Mr. Tommy, Mr. Kaufman has sent a message for you. Mr. Kaufman says at 2 p.m. weekdays is streaming time. If you do not know, you should get to know. Right, I didn't know. I know. Do you know what? It's impossible to avoid fellow Spurs streamers because so much has happened. So much is happening. But I don't think they're as interactive as this show. So stick with us. Nobody's as interactive as this show. Even if you don't like me, I'd read out everyone's message and we'll get talking. Even if you don't like what I've got to say. We try and make it as interactive as possible. Nearly an hour in. We've still not got to 20 likes. Please smash a like if you haven't already done so. Get us to 20 before we go today. This is going to be the final segment. Good afternoon to you all. Magic Maddison, we've just been talking about you. Ange not changed. That's what makes me think that Phillips will play. He's big and quick and calm in possession. That's why he will play and not Davis. That's a good shout. That's a good idea. Who's most likely to come in that can fit into the same system? Then you have to look at youth players. But I don't think so. I think he'll stick with. I think he'll go to Dyer. Like same with Richarlison. You can go to if Richarlison's not playing well enough, you can go to the youth team. You can get some players from there. But it's a huge risk, and he didn't do that. He kept playing Richarlison. Most managers would. I think Dyer will play, but there's every chance could be alongside Phillips or Dorrington. Donovan, you should see my underpants. Don, I had the Country shirt as my profile pic last week. I just love Maddison as a player. Are you a Maddison? Are you just a complete Maddison fanatic? Or are you Spurs fan in any way? Because these, they do exist. They do exist. Gill came off the bench against Palace. Oh, he did. Very sporadically, wasn't it? I don't think Ange has much hope in him or anyone. If he can't get through, if he can't get in front of Richarlison the way he's been playing, then you're in trouble. You shouldn't be wearing jerseys of Championship clubs. I like Rue Ball, Hoppity Hop. Okay, right, I get it. I get it. I think Ndombele would make a great creator up front, but he's too lazy. The best time Ndombele had for us, even though Lyon, he was a centre mid, he was signed as a centre mid for us. Cam, he was magnificent for Jose in the first 6 months, and he was magnificent because we were top. Come December, we were top. He's playing really, really well, but it didn't last. And eventually, Sissoko got injured. His legs went when he come back. So Ndombele got dropped back into centre midfield. He's too lazy. Too lazy playing centre midfield in the Premier League. If you kept him up there as a cam, just left him up there, okay, we'd be lazy. We'd have injuries. But I think he could do something. And that's why he went to Napoli. That's why Spalletti took him. And, he helped. Even off the bench, he helped to win a Scudetto. So Ndombele does have qualities. He's far, far too lazy for this league to play in centre midfield. So Cam is an option. And he did play very well there for us back in the day. But I never, ever want to see him in a Spurs shirt again. Hopefully we won't. After what he done against Morecambe, walking off the pitch when he was the worst player on the pitch. 1-0 down to Morecambe in the FA Cup and he walks off the pitch after getting subbed off. Unforgivable. Ben shows non-football. He brings it up. Ben brings it up a little bit, doesn't he? I've only bring football into it a little bit. It's hard not to as a Spurs fan. I'm a Madison fanatic Tommy, and I might be a Spurs fan. That's the mystery of it all. Okay, we'll find out one day. Will Ange change for Wolves? Right. Let's get the banner down and let's talk about paper talk. Let's get in the paper talk in the rumour mill. Okie dokie. So, talking about centre backs, we were linked with this guy a couple of weeks back. Name carries on being rumoured with us, but this is Lloyd Kelly. So Bournemouth will turn down any new approaches for defender Lloyd Kelly in January, with Tottenham, Liverpool, Newcastle, and AC Milan all keen on 25-year-old Englishman. That's Team Talk reporting that, and I think the Sun reported something similar as well this morning. The agent of Man United's Brazilian winger Antony, 23 years old, says his client will not be returning to his homeland in a swap deal. Will not be returning to his homeland in a swap deal for 27-year-old forward and compatriot Gabriel Barbosa from Flamengo. That's George Nicola via Express. So Antony was linked with going back to Brazil. Gabriel Barbosa coming on. Gabriel Barbosa got signed for Inter Milan for like 30-40 million pounds around 6 years ago, but it was shocking and returned back to Brazil. So that's who Barbosa is. I'm guessing he's doing fantastic for Brazil and in Brazil. We talked about Toney earlier. Arsenal would prefer to sign Brentford and England striker Ivan Toney, 27 next summer, rather than in January. That would make a lot of sense because Brentford, I'm telling you now, will be in a relegation battle. I mean, where are Brentford now? Let's see where Brentford are. I mean, obviously the victory against Chelsea helped them out. That's for sure. But I said before the season started, with Toney not there, there's every chance they're going to be in a relegation battle. And they just will not want to sell. They're ninth. They're actually ninth. They've done well recently, haven't they? That Chelsea victory was big. Well, to be fair, they beat Chelsea and Brentford. Before that, they were 16th. So they've had a good last few weeks. Good, they beat West Ham as well. Bloody hell, Chelsea lost 2-0 at home to Brentford and we lost 4-1 to them. We know where we lost 4-1 to them because they're sending off. So we would have won comfortably if not. It's just depressing. So yeah, I don't think they'll sell Toney. I think they're still going to be in a relegation battle. So the links with Norgard that I put out earlier, Norgard coming to us, Hojbjerg going to Juventus, I just don't believe it. Brentford aren't that stupid. It's as simple as that. So yeah, they're ninth in the table. Right. Next up, Italian giants Juventus are interested in a loan deal for England midfielder Calvin Phillips, 27, who looks set to leave Man City in January. I want Calvin Phillips, even for a sporadic loan deal for 6 months, while Basuma and Sarr are out on their African Cup of Nations duty. I'll be taking him with an optional fee. I'm sure Man City would like that, an optional fee to potentially sell Calvin Phillips, and then for us, if he does well, then an optional fee to sign him, and then we could, sell Hojbjerg in the summer. I don't think selling Hojbjerg does anyone any favours this January. But he's now linked with Italian giants Juventus. That's Team Talk reporting that. This is the Telegraph. Juventus sent their... So this is why Hojbjerg has been linked from Monday night specifically. This makes a lot of sense. Juventus sent their sporting director, Cristiano Giuntoli, to watch Tottenham and Denmark midfielder Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg against Chelsea on Monday in preparation for a potential January move for the 28-year-old. So yeah, as I said, Telegraph reported that, and a lot of other sources reported that because he was there. And they've been linked. They've been linked for a long time, so it makes sense. Atletico Madrid were linked in the summer. Again, that one makes sense because Diego Simeone likes playing with defensive-minded centre midfielders, and I think Hojbjerg overall is a defensive-minded centre midfielder. I know he can play in attacking positions for Denmark and Spurs at times in centre mid. And Simeone signed a new contract in the summer. So with Atletico Madrid and Juventus linked, I think they're two clubs that would be happy to sign him if we were happy to sell. I don't think it's smart selling him this January. I really don't. But, Juventus is taking a good look at him. Liverpool midfielder Thiago Alcantara, 32, is a target for Serie A pair Juventus and Inter Milan, with Spain internationals' contract expiring at the end of the season. Yeah, Juventus and Inter Milan are in financial peril. They truly are. So they're looking for cheapskates, basically. And, Calvin Phillips on loan's cheap. Thiago Alcantara will
his contract expiring at the end of the season, will be free, won't he? Italy midfielder. This is where I think I answered. I think it's Jay Ashraf put a comment in earlier about Spurs potentially signing Locatelli. Italy midfielder Manuel Locatelli, 25, is set to sign a new deal with Juventus until June 2028. That's Fabrizio Romano reporting that. Chelsea and Liverpool are interested in signing Raul Batiste, 18-year-old Senegalese-born winger Assane Diao. That's Mucho Deporte via Football Talk reporting that. Raul Batiste, we have a bad history of signing players from Raul Batiste. Lo Celso came from Raul Batiste. Emerson Royal, we signed him from Barcelona, but he was on loan at Raul Batiste. That's where he made his name for a season, Emerson Royal. So, yeah, I'm glad. Chelsea, Liverpool, you sign players from Raul Batiste. We'll leave it. So, yeah, they're interested in a young 18-year-old. So, remember the name. There's a young player, I think it's Shamrock Rovers, that all the big clubs are going for as well. He's like 17 or 18. I looked at him last week briefly. Also, Chelsea and Man United will have to fork out 50 million euros. That's 43 million pounds. If they want to sign Netherlands right back Denzel Dumfries, 27, from Italian club Inter Milan. Calcio Mercato. We were linked with Dumfries for a long, long time before we signed Porro because he done very well under Conte. He won the Scudetto under Conte in a wing-back system, which Conte plays as a right wing-back. So Chelsea signing him doesn't make no sense whatsoever because they've got Gusto, who's a good right back, and Reece James, who's a right back. I have seen Dumfries play right mid for Inter Milan sometimes, but I think he does it for Holland as well. So if they had that in mind, potentially, Chelsea doesn't make any sense. Man United does because they've got Wan-Bissaka and Dalot there, I think. So, yeah, I could see Dumfries going there. They want 43 million pounds, which is a lot of money. But once upon a time, people were rating him at 60, 70 million pounds. That's Calcio Mercato, Italian newspaper reporting that. Barcelona are considering recalling France centre-back Clément Lenglet with Spurs last season, 28, from his loan at Villa, where he has yet to make a Premier League appearance. We supported Conte. The only centre-back we got in 2 years for a manager that plays with 3 centre-backs was Lenglet, who can't get a game for Aston Villa. In fact, they're going to cancel his loan deal because he can't get a game for Aston Villa. That is the only centre-back we signed with Conte. Conte had Davis, Dyer, Sanchez, and an injured Romero. That's what he had to deal with. And people were questioning Conte. Conte's gone, we move on, but Conte worked wonders getting us fourth with that team. He did. That's the way I see it. Horrible football to watch, but he worked miracles. Ange has got a much better team. Van der Ven, Porro, Udogie, Vicario. Conte had none of those players. Not a single one. Well, he had Porro for 2 months, didn't he? Final day of the transfer window, we got him. Right. Arsenal, Fulham and Liverpool sent representatives to watch Fluminense midfielder Andre during the Copa Libertadores final. The 22-year-old Brazil international has an agreement to leave the South American champions, who value him at 35 million euros in January. Globo Esporte in Portuguese. A lot of young Brazilians coming through. We know the Brazil national team is in all sorts of issues. It's the worst Brazil national team since the 60s. I don't know. Since I've been following football, and certainly since the 70s and 80s, it is a shocking Brazilian national team, but they've got a lot of teenagers and early 20-year-old players coming through in the Brazilian league, linked with European moves. This is the latest guy, Andre. So I've got a funny feeling 4 or 5 years, the Brazil squad will flip. We'll see some very good players. They've still got like Eder Militao, who's young, Vinicius Junior, who's young. They will come back at one stage, but the fact that they've got to play Richarlison up top goes to show how poor they are. Spain defender Marcos Alonso, 32, is set to leave Barcelona for La Liga rivals Atletico Madrid. That's fine, as long as he doesn't come back to England, because Alonso always assists or scores against us. Always. I've got to say, yeah, obviously for Chelsea mainly, record against Chelsea just never seems to improve, and that game Monday again. Hopefully, I tell you what, our record against Chelsea is horrible. We all know that. In the Premier League era, our record against Man City over the last 5 or 6 years has been magnificent. So hopefully that sticks in a few weeks. Hopefully we get another victory against them, because we just always find a way. Against Pep, we always find a way. Right, Bentancur will play as the second number 8 on Saturday. The second number 8. What do you mean? So we got flat 2 centre midfields. I suppose Basuma goes into attacking positions, but I wouldn't say we play with 2 number 8s. I'd say Sarr and Basuma are deep with a number 10 in front of them. But I suppose some people could say we play with a number 8, and then, to be fair, Maddison looks like a number 8 at times. So I suppose there's you could actually argue that, and that is what he did at Celtic. But I want someone in and around the box, and that's a number 10. And I think Maddison is not just number 10 where he gets his assists. He goes from the number 10 position and goes wide. The majority of his assists are come on the byline on the left or the right. So Maddison does play high, not just as a number 8. He plays as number 10. That's how he naturally delves into those positions out wide and gets those assists. So I think Maddison is a number 10, goes into number 8 positions, and then we play with a number 8 and a number 6 rather than 2 number 8s. So I guess you're saying we play with a number 6 and 2 number 8s. I don't really think that's the case. No, Phillips is not technical enough for me. I haven't seen enough of Phillips. I just haven't seen anywhere near enough of it. I've never seen a full game with Phillips. And I argue with the people that have. Phillips is a cardboard footballer. Enough said. Apparently, we're after Leicester's Ndidi, who Maddison rates very highly as the best ball winner in the Premier League. It's about 30, 31, isn't he? But Leicester have started very well. They have started very well. Jeez, that was tough. Also, the news is that right-footed centre-back who can play on both wings is a done deal in regards to Sebastian Cascares of Club America in Mexico. Very similar to Romero. Again, I don't know a great deal about this guy. I looked at him last week. I was looking at Chiesa and Cambiaso, 2 Juventus players linked with us, and obviously Cascares' name's come up a lot, so I looked at him. He's like 5'10", 5'11". I don't think any of our centre-backs are that dominant in the air. I want a dominant centre-back in the air. He's not that. He's more of a ball-playing South American centre-back. He plays for Uruguay, doesn't he? But that's a good thing. The good thing is that he plays in a system because Bielsa is the Uruguay manager, and he's doing very good things for Uruguay, Cascares as a centre-back. So that's a high press. We know Pochettino and Bielsa are basically father and son. That's how they deem each other, play very similar high-pressing football. So Cascares would fit, but the fact that he's only ever played in Mexico, we can't say I suppose he's very similar in style to Romero, but absolutely not in experience before we signed him. Romero done it in Europe for a number of years. Genoa, Juventus, and then Atalanta is very good. So it's a huge risk to sign someone in from Mexico as say your third centre back. I'd be going for Tapsoba, quite frankly. Either footed centre back, I'll be going for him. So we'll have to play as the cam, or even Lloyd Kelly. Lloyd Kelly's not great. He's a good player. He's an Ange style centre back, but I'd be taking him over going to someone like a club in Mexico. But Celso will have to play as the cam. Otherwise, what's the point of him being on the bench? There's no one else. There's no one else, is there? And you've got 12 spaces on the bench, haven't you? Maddison is like a false 9 for us. Honestly, he plays so high up the field. He's more like a striker now. He played a lot more in central midfield for Leicester. But he does still come deep. He does still come deep. Tommy, Club America, the biggest club in Mexico. They're a massive team there. Biggest club in Mexico, but the Mexican league's not a big league. It's not. I mean, what players from Mexico have come to Britain and done well? I think Chicharito was okay for Sir Alex Ferguson for a bit. I think he come from there. Other than that, I'm struggling. I'll be honest with you. I know Rafael Marquez, because he's Mexican. He went to Barcelona from there like 20 years ago. So it's just not a good barometer of a player, quite frankly. And I think the £7 million pretty much backs it up. I think Vincent Janssen went there, didn't he? Vincent Janssen went to Mexico and smashed it up there. So it's not a great barometer. I'd rather be looking at players in the top 5 leagues, especially in the Premier League. Would be great. Tapso would be fantastic. Right, we're going to end the show there. We're still only on a lot of 19 likes. Please.
please make sure you smash a like. We're on 19. Before we go, hit the like, get us to 20. Thanks for watching. This weekend's shows will be going live Saturday midday, Sunday evening with Spurs Uncensored, where we don't care about the narrative. We're not afraid to talk about the most controversial subjects. It's what we do on Sunday night. Me, Dan, and one or two others. So hit the like, hit the sub, hit the notification bell. You're notified of all future content that way. And of course, stay classy, Lily Whites. A couple more. Mexico always produced decent national sides. Tommy, come on, but it's different being a decent national side to making it in the Premier League. I think it's very, very different. Isn't the final striker playing for Mexico? I mean, you can play for that country. It doesn't mean, Nigeria were fantastic 20 years ago. Ivory Coast were fantastic 20 years ago. The players they produced. It doesn't mean the leagues are fantastic. Gimenez, I'm not going to buy a player from the Ivory Coast League or Nigerian League because they've got a good national setup. It's two different debates. But look, who knows? He could be good. It's just not. It's not something that I'm not keen on. Okay, bye, Tommy. Yeah, he's Mexican, but he plays in Holland. He's scoring his goals in Holland, so that's the main thing. If he scores his goals in Holland for Feyenoord, fantastic. Still not a top league, is it? But that's okay. I mean, Kaká is playing in Mexico. He's playing in Mexico. He's never played in Europe. That's the difference. Anyway, I've got to go. Got to have some lunch. Peace out, everyone. Stay safe, stay free, stay classy.